very uplifting in many directions. I think a lot of the times people start having their challenges and stuff, and then, they feel as though they need that direction. And that's where you come in on a Wednesday afternoon.
Well, I must say, I do get great good feedback from many of your listeners. They connect with me via Facebook on Rooksana Modan, and it's actually quite good to hear. Some of them say the topic was like just specifically chosen for them, so something that they were battling with, and I do feel that it's such an amazing response coming from them, that how much the chat between yourself and myself brings about in their homes, in their lives, in their expresses. So yes, Shukra, Jazakallah for having me on your show.
The pleasure is only mine. And today we're talking about overcoming limitations. And I think that's something very important, because a lot of the times we don't realize our true potential and we limit ourselves in many directions.
Definitely. So the topic is, like as usual, I choose my topics based on what your listeners write in. And I think on 2 segments behind previous, I spoke about limiting beliefs, and the person texted me to say, can you tell me more about what is a limiting belief?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, this is what we're going to discuss today, is what is truly a limiting belief, and how can we get over it, break it, or dispel these kind of beliefs within ourselves. Right. A limiting belief is a state of mind. It is a thing to convince yourself. It's an inner conversation that you've had with yourself that limits you, tells you don't go beyond that line. And the best way to talk about a limiting belief, I've seen it, and when I watched it, I was like, it's not possible. So the only way they can train elephants when they were little is they tie a string on their foot.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're little, as they pull on the string, it hurts, right? But they don't realize their strength, and as they get bigger, they don't even chain them with anything. They just need to put a little chain around them. It's not even around their foot. But they're so scared that if I move, the string's going to hurt me, that they stay in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if an elephant knew its strength, and it knew how powerful it was, that little rope or chain that they tied with could be broken just with one pull of the leg, but they don't move the leg knowing that this thing might hurt me. So that's a limiting belief. It shows you how you hold yourself back. And I can tell you, I know a lot of people, especially as I do a lot of coaching on limiting beliefs. I've had a lady, she's utterly scared of water. And when her child fell in water, she didn't jump after.
Right.
She was screaming. One of the neighbors heard. They jumped over her wall and they saved her child, right? The child was safe. But the thing that hurt her the most as a mom, and she went into major depression when that child fell in the water, she couldn't go. No matter what she told herself, she couldn't jump in the water. And that is a limiting belief. That someone, some way told you or dunked you in the water or put your head underwater in the bath, something that they've done has put fear in you. Mm-hmm. That fear is so debilitating, you can actually hurt yourself or get somebody else to get hurt as well.
Right.
And what I want to talk about is the negative effects of a limiting belief. And limiting beliefs come from the time we're little. So unfortunately, as parents, it's easier to have a quiet child. It's easier to have a well-behaved child. It's easier for us. So what we tend to do is we tell our children to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Be quiet. Continuously, be quiet. And that limiting belief can be very detrimental to our children, because if something is going on wrong, they're being bullied, they're being abused, they won't open their mouth and say anything, because we've told them that we want you to be quiet.
Right.
So a limiting belief can also be very bad negatively for our emotions, because when you trap those emotions within the body, it actually brings about all kinds of sicknesses. It brings about lung problems, tummy problems. It brings about kidney problems, because these emotions get trapped within the cells of the body, and it inculcates the fear factor of I cannot do, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not chosen, I'm not wanted, and those kind of emotions can actually deter your health.
Right.
So to overcome these kind of limiting beliefs, and especially we've been using these techniques on most of my cancer patients, once they realize that the fear what they're holding within themselves and they break those barriers, their healing capacity is so much better. Their stress, dealing with stress, overcoming negative emotions happening within themselves. Because these things happen, right? It's part of life.
And
But how you deal
it's
with
so true what you're saying, because I think, and that's the thing, you just spoke about a cancer patient, and for me, I think it's important what you just discussed now. It's about changing their mindset. And I was just listening to a show a while ago, and what they were saying is, when it comes to people like this with illnesses, like you were saying, are brought on from our mindset. When the person, they were talking to a patient who had actually gone for chemotherapy, and he went into remission, and they couldn't understand because he was literally in fourth stage cancer. And he said it was when the chemotherapy was actually going into his veins, he was telling himself that this thing is good for me, it's going to help me, and it's going to change me for the better. And the doctors themselves were actually quite taken by the entire story, because the thing is, just by changing his mindset was already halfway through the situation that he had actually changed his life.
Absolutely. I can tell you many of my patients come with the exact same thing. That the first time before they come to me, they'll be like, when I go for chemo, I throw up, my body's paining, it's convulsing. And then after they do 2 or 3 sessions, they come back and they're like, you know what, I actually received my chemo well, my hair is growing back, I'm feeling stronger, I'm exercising daily, I'm choosing my choices of food better, I'm not throwing up so much. And yes, the healing capacity, the ability within their own body cells becomes stronger because their mind becomes stronger. And I want to tell you some of the common human limiting beliefs. We all have these within ourselves, and we can overcome them through strategies of learning how to control our minds, how to release what is not serving us. And some of those ones are fear of success. And people say, but that's nonsense, It's absolutely, people fear becoming successful. They say, no, people will think I'm boastful. People will think I have too much of myself. People fear success, so they self-sabotage. People also fear failure, so they don't try anything. They're like, I'm so scared of failure, I will do nothing with my life, right? And they also feel that they're not good enough, so they won't want to try anything. They feel like, in school I was told I'm not good enough. When I was little, my parents told me I'm not good enough. Now I don't want to try. The other one as well is fear of not being loved or being lovable. A lot of people get that from childhood, going into teenagehood, where they're not growing up with parents, or where the parents reject them, put them out on the street, or let them go out into society, or there's abuse in the home. And these children believe when they grow up that they're not worthy of love, or when they're going to become lovable, and they become abusers in their own way as well. The fear of rejection as well. Fear of rejection is, and they don't want somebody to break their heart. They don't want to even try love. They've heard the mom got divorced, the dad got divorced, or somebody cheated on somebody. They put that fear within themselves and say, listen, if I don't love, if I don't choose a partner, that won't happen to me. Right. So they hold back on their own joy and happiness in life.
Okay. So basically what you're trying to say is that the mindset has to change. We need to tell ourselves, because a lot of the times I think what happens is people believe in the can't word as opposed to the fact that I can do it and I will do it. And I think that already changes your mindset into the negative, and that's when things start going wrong for you. And then you start questioning yourself and saying, why am I? Because you're literally creating that limit yourself.
Yes, definitely. I think, when you start understanding what your core beliefs are, and if you truly believe that you are unique, you are created by your creator as only one. There's no two Nafeesas, there's no two Rooksanas. We will never be the same. And when you stop comparing and competing with others, you actually find that your limiting beliefs become non-existent, because you don't need to be thin. You don't need to be smart. Because now you start embracing your own gifts. Every single person is gifted and talented in their own ways. And once you start looking within yourself, minding your own business, looking within yourself, challenging yourself to say, what can I do better? How can I become smarter? How can I learn to unlearn the bad that was in me? And that's very important. I'll say it again. How can I learn to unlearn my bad within myself? So we all pick up bad habits. We all.
Right.
But the most important thing is to be keen and willing to unlearn it. So at many times our ego steps into place and says, that's serving me well. Yes, how is it serving you well? You're not moving forward. You're not living your life. You're just going day by day.
Yeah, and you're talking about this, what about people that you find there's a lot of people that are in the situation where they actually surpass limitations because they like to be the crowd pleaser or the person that likes to please somebody else, but not realizing what they're doing to themselves in turn is that they're surpassing the limitations to please others and not creating their own, as you were saying, mind your own business, creating their own direction in life.
I think, Nafeesa, I'm one to relate with that, and I did share this a little bit previously in one of your talk shows. I had a lot of pressure growing up because we are four siblings and all our sisters. My dad probably chose me to be the boy in the home.
Right.
I grew up like a tomboy. But my expectations on myself became harder and much more intense than my sisters. So I strived much more. The things that I went through when I worked in the male environment, I worked at Mnet into the marketing branding division, which was also very male dominated at that particular time. I then went into petroleum, which was very male dominated as well. So my choices was very tough. And women looked at me and said, "Are you mad? Are you not concentrating on your kids?" Hell yes, I concentrate on my kids. I want to be good at everything. I want to be good at my job. I want to be good at my business. I want to be good with my life, with my partner. But something always falls apart. When you set those kind of expectations on yourself, yes, I'm an amazing mom. Yes, I'm an amazing business coach. Yes, I ran my business very successfully. But I also didn't concentrate on my partner, which strayed out of our marriage. So I always look to say that maybe it's my fault. No, sometimes, we all have choices. And we chose to work together. We chose to run our business together. And I never saw it as that. But a lot of people always look at it as maybe if you didn't concentrate too much on the business, maybe if you never concentrate too much on being a good mom, that maybe you would have been a better wife. So sometimes putting those kind of expectations on ourselves is to strive to be the best at everything. It becomes a life of no joy.
Exactly.
I was just moving. I was not sitting down and reflecting. I was never reviewing. I was never trying to understand my life. I never rejuvenated. And there's dangers in those things happening. Sometimes you need to pause. You need to look back and admire and learn from those lessons past. And the signs were all there. But, I was like, look, I'll just get past this hurdle and I just got to get there and let's just order stock and let me just take my petrol delivery. Everything's going to be okay. And knowing that things were not okay. And when it did fall apart, I myself had to ask myself, was it worth it? Was it worth it working 7 days a week? Was it worth it not taking holidays and time out? Was it worth it the sleepless nights that I had, breaking my sleep to take petrol deliveries? I had to ask myself all those questions. So yes, sometimes being an overachiever has its limiting beliefs within yourself as well. I always believed that I had to be better. I had to strive. And that's what my parents inculcated in me, right? Shukr alhamdulillah, I don't complain about it. It's taken me into places and rooms. I've sat among men that didn't open space on their boardroom tables before. And I'm privileged to say that, yes, I was one of those women sitting there. So, yes, I've done amazing things. Now, as I've changed and learned and relooked at my life and got rid of a lot of limiting beliefs, I'm not a man. I'm a woman. I don't need to challenge anybody else but myself. I need to just strive to be a better mom, better woman, a better coach, a better sister. And those are the things that I strive for daily. I think when you start, it's so apt what you say, that some people don't realize how much of an overachiever they are. I mean, I've got friends and I tease them all the time that they are so OCD. If you go into their homes, everything is meticulous. Even when they work, everything has to be, and they got so much of stress. When they get home, they can't unwind. When they're leaving home, they still can't unwind. And these are like ticking time bombs. They're going to explode somewhere along the line. So I think, you're right when you say limiting beliefs can hold you back, but limiting beliefs can also push you into so much of stress, wanting to achieve, wanting to strive. So yeah, that does make a lot of sense as well. And looking within yourself, limiting beliefs can either make you or break you. So your limiting beliefs need to make you. And you need to just start looking at what are my negatives that I think about myself. And the one that I just want to discuss quickly, I'm not sure if we're running out of time, but the one that is most important is women. Women look at TV, they look at magazines, we look at our shape, we look at our size, and then they're like, oh, I'm too fat, or I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too dark, I'm too light. This is being given into somebody's image of how we should look like. And it's all money making. If you look at it, the makeup that comes on board, it's like you don't look good without makeup. You don't look good if you haven't lightened your skin. Don't look good if you don't straighten your hair. You don't look good if you don't wear Prada and Gucci.
Right.
Those things limit you to always try to have the latest, the best, the brand. It's not about those things. If you're confident in the abilities of who you are and you love yourself, no matter what your shape and size, learn to start accepting who you are. Learn to appreciate you for you with the extra pounds, with the little cellulite, with that extra little tummy. Learn to start embracing you as a woman, accepting you. It's okay to go without makeup. It's okay to put your hair up in an untidy bun. It's okay sometimes not to be all dressed up in high heels. I must just tell you, the positive, I've done a workshop for ladies, and the positive that came out about it was that they've learned to live in their own skin in COVID times. Because there's no need for makeup. Where your face is covered in a mask. There's no need for high-heeled shoes. There's no need to wear and like hurt your feet. Most ladies are in techies at the moment. And it's such an amazing thing how we start, like from this pandemic time, it was a very stressful time for all of us. Other things have come about to say, I really love actually being with my family. I really love being at home and having certain times when I said, this is my exercise time, which I've never had. So limiting beliefs can come about where you hold yourself back, but also breaking those limiting beliefs, those barriers that are holding you back, can achieve more balanced lifestyle, more love in your life, more joy and laughter. So for me, I would say strive within yourself. To all our listeners out there, get rid of the negative beliefs within yourself. And if there are those ones that are pushing you beyond yourself, it's okay to sometimes just take a breath and say, I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to take some time out to reflect on my life. It's okay to be a striver. Nobody says don't strive in life, but sometimes take moments out just to reflect on your life, just to rest, to say it's okay because you're deserving of that time.
And I think it's about learning to love yourself and, of course, looking around with the beauty within as opposed to the beauty on the outside.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think, like I said, you have men that going through this as well, striving to achieve and look at television, look at magazines and say, I want to look like this. I need to dress this way. I need to act this way. But I find that our women, because of their low self-esteem, their low confidence levels, they tend to mimic and want to, and that way you're never going to ever reach an outcome. Because tomorrow there's a new trend, tomorrow there's a new style. Sometimes it's in to have long hair, sometimes it's not. If you are that person that's going to strive continuously, you'll never become happy. You'll never become comfortable with who you are. We need to start loving who we are. We need to start embracing. And the one thing, limiting beliefs come from that as well. We do not need to compete, especially as women. We need to uplift each other. We need to love each other. We need to embrace each other, to celebrate each other when each person is when they're coming to their form. I think that's so important to acknowledge and see each other. There's no need to compete because I have amazing South women, and you're one of them, Nafeesa. Whenever I want to do something, I look at the sisterhood that I have around me, and I have amazing, powerful women. I could not be where I am today if I didn't have the support and the love that I have from strong women like yourself and all the others. I don't want to mention names, but we all have those. I don't compete with people. And women that are in my life don't compete. They complement each other. They raise each other up. They support each other in the endeavors. They comfort each other when things fail. We have all had major failures these past 10 months.
Of course.
And they've been there to support and hold each other, nurture each other, love each other. And that's what's important. Limiting beliefs are, it's okay if we're not men. We are women and we need to stand together. Men compete. It's their nature. To challenge each other and to be strong and tough. And it's okay. But I think that we as women, we were born to be nurturers, to give life and to nurture this life and let it grow within ourselves. So it's our nature to grow each other, to nurture other people, to comfort them, to nurse them back to life, just to hug them and say everything's going to be okay.
Yes,
sometimes just a little emoji, a laughing emoji to say, you know what, stop being stupid now. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just laugh about it. It's going to be okay.
Yes, and it goes a long way. It does. But thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It was a phenomenal conversation. And I think a lot of us have taken, should we say, a lot of value to go back and think about what you said. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to chatting to you real soon. Have a lovely week going forward.
Jazakallah so much, Nafeesa. As always, it's such a pleasure being on your show. And to all our listeners out there, break the barriers that are holding you back. Make sure that you strive to be the best version of yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And that was Sister Rooksana Modan, definitely giving us some amazing information for this afternoon. Should we say inspiration, speaking about overcoming limitations. And I think that is a very important topic because a lot of the times we find ourselves in that space. Stay with us after the break. We're going to be discussing some really interesting food with Sister Rohana Ibrahim. She's the founder of the blog called Mama Taught Me Well. And then after that, we'll be joining Sister Fahima Patel. And she's going to be talking to us about how to run a daily and wholesome eating habit, of course, to solve your health issues. And I think a lot of the time what we eat affects us in many directions, and we don't actually realize that until we're in the space. And then we're going to be, of course, inspiring you in a positive sense with positive media trends, and then talking to Zahid about his show happening this evening. So stay with us. We'll be back with you in a bit.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This